You're invited to join Abundant by Nature, a summer activation to rewire your programming, elevate your abundance frequency, and receive from your true nature of abundance and overflow. This is going to be a fun, easy, and very accessible 3-month group program with me guiding you live, also giving you coaching rooted in transformational neurolinguistic programming so you can clear the unconscious blocks to receiving, to your worthiness, to anything you want in life, heal any wounds around money, any deep programming around the guilt and shame when it comes to being spiritual and being of service, and also receiving. This program has been coming through me for a few years now, and I'm so excited to finally bring this to you. As I said, it's going to be fun. We're going to do a lot of really just exciting, easy practices that you can integrate into your life forever. Embodiment practices, voice work, and also working with plant spirits and plant medicines, including in ceremony and ritual. Don't worry, there are no psychedelics required. But I really encourage you to take a look here at the webpage and sign up. The doors are open now. We start in June. And as I said, this is a live program guided by me inside of a community container. I made it really accessible, and I'm going to make it lots of fun for all of us. So I hope to see you there. The psychedelic revolution is here. If you want to integrate your visionary experiences into your purpose, get clear on your entrepreneurial path, and help people while you do what you love, then this podcast is for you. Welcome to The Psychedelic Entrepreneur, Medicine for These Times. I'm your host, Beth Weinstein. I'm a spiritual business coach, 3-time entrepreneur, and a lifelong student of psychedelics and sacred plant medicines. You carry your own unique medicine, and your medicine is what we need for these times. This podcast will help you to share your medicine so you can create transformation in the world. Listen in on conversations with psychedelic leaders, changemakers, and conscious entrepreneurs who are living proof that a better world is possible when you follow your heart and live in alignment with your soul. So you probably heard that I am offering a new program called Abundant by Nature, and the doors are open now. And I wanted to speak today about a very controversial topic, which is money and abundance. So I've been a business coach for a long time now, about 9 years, and I've had money and abundance and worthiness and the issues that are connected to money and what do you charge. I've had this come up numerous times with pretty much every single client I've ever worked with all these years. And it's really interesting. I've done a lot of pretty deep work myself, of course, as an entrepreneur on my own journey to receiving and money and worthiness, and really trying to come to terms with being of service, doing what I love, being on this deep spiritual path of wanting to create a healed world, create a world where everybody is living in harmony and happiness and has everything provided for them, right? Like, I want to live in this kind of new earth utopian world that we all dream of. And there is a reality to the current world that we live in, which we will all admit is a broken system. So how do we come to terms with these, this dissonance between the new world that we want to create and then the old systems of capitalism that we know is broken? And it's been really interesting. I am someone who has invested in myself a lot for a very, very long time, probably since I can remember, since at least my 20s. My first self-development program was Landmark Education when I was about 23 or 4 years old, I think. So it was a while ago. And, I remember that, wow, that was a lot of money. And it was life-changing, even if you don't like Landmark. It was good for what it was good for, not good for other things. But, and so I've personally never had a problem investing into my growth and my expansion and what I would call, my healing, because it was always been very important to me. So for those of us that have no problem, investing into a medicine retreat or, some kind of training and whatnot, it doesn't seem to be a problem. But then very often my clients who've maybe invested a lot in their training and their medicine work and their own personal growth, their own therapist, their own healing work, they seem to then have a problem with charging money and receiving in money and trying to get it right. It's really, it seems to be a very big problem within the human condition. Unless you're of a certain mindset where there's certain people on the planet that have no problem receiving, billions of dollars. And then, of course, then there might be a judgment around, well, that person with $1 billion is a bad person. But are they? And this is some of what we'll be exploring in Abundant by Nature. This program is not just a money program, but I do want to address some of the deeper programming and beliefs and wounds that we carry as humans around money and worthiness and receiving and deserving, and some of the deeper core wounds that actually might be running beneath the surface in your not conscious that are actually what might be causing you to not be as abundant as you would like to be. And when I speak into abundance, it's not just about money. I really do see abundance as so much more than that. Of course, you might want money or you might need more money, but and I do believe it's interconnected, which I'm pretty sure you will experience on this journey in Abundant by Nature. When you do this deeper work to really look into your programming, which we'll be doing inside of this container. I am trained in transformational neuro-linguistic programming, which has actually been one of the best modalities I've ever done myself for my own healing journey that is related to money and receiving and worthiness and the depth of deserving. The irony in all this is that my Abundant by Nature program is priced very inexpensively. I was actually very back and forth about the pricing for it. Part of me knows it's worth way more than I'm charging. I personally think it's worth at least $3,000, probably more. But it's so much less than that because, what came through this vision I had, this kind of a download I had many months ago was that this message needs to be for the masses. And I'm not the only one out there talking about this, of course, but as we are stepping into a world where we don't know what the systems are going to turn into, people say things are collapsing and crumbling, but, we actually have no idea what that really looks like or what it means, right? We just know like something feels off in our body and our soul, and we do need to do things differently. It's going to be a journey to get there. It's going to be a nuanced approach. We can't just cut all the cords today and have the whole thing collapse and then that's it. But this message that came through was the deeper work around abundance needs to be done as we step into a new paradigm of life on Earth. And what I've seen as a business coach who has coached many, many people who are starting and growing and expanding their businesses is worthiness, receiving, deserving, money, imposter syndrome, good enough, worthy enough, perfect enough, all of these beliefs, they all get in the way no matter what. As you grow and are of more service out there in the world, or just as you grow as a person with your art, with your job, with your family, it doesn't matter. You will always come up against more of these deeper layers of these beliefs that are actually running. And if you don't do the work to bring these to the surface and integrate them, and integration isn't just going to a 1-hour integration circle after a ceremony. That's not what integration is. It's really like having a different relationship and illuminating what is possibly running in your non-conscious, we could call it unconscious or subconscious, but my teachers actually do call it not conscious, which I prefer. When you do this work to really bring it forward and look at it and develop a different relationship with it, and even do the work to reprogram it, which we're going to be doing in Abundant by Nature, you will see that it doesn't mean you're going to throw away your values and suddenly be best friends with a bunch of people that are billionaires that you just don't like because they're billionaires. It means that you get to keep your values and really have aligned abundance, but also live in more congruence with the life that you want. As humans, I just wrote about this, and this is where we're going to be integrating a lot of these deeper nature-based practices, embodiment practices, vocal alchemy work. Don't worry, you will not be singing in front of anyone, but just certain practices you can integrate into your life. When you do these, and then some work with plant spirits and plant medicine and ceremony, and when you do this along with the programming work inside of this container and being held in, I don't know a better word than the energy or the frequency of this group container we're going to hold for the summer for 3 months, June, July, and August. When you do this, it almost starts to seem like magic. And I hate to use that word. I mean, for anyone that knows me, I'm not a spiritual bypasser. Like, I have done so much deep shadow work. Literally this morning I was like in it, because this is what I'm here for. But there's, our human language is so limited sometimes. But when I see clients get the coaching from me to look at their programming and actually, through these different processes I've been trained in, have a shift in the way your not conscious programming works, it almost seems like your reality, your experience of the world that you live in starts to change, and it feels like magic. But I don't like to throw around those words because I never guarantee or promise anything. I just know if you're willing to show up and have some fun and be open and be willing to touch upon maybe some places where it's like, wow, I've never actually looked at that before, or I know I have this programming or these beliefs, but, how do you still hold on to your values while also changing your beliefs? And it is possible. It's not about becoming a totally different person and now you're, this money hungry person. It's about really aligning and being in more congruence with your true, deepest quintessence of yourself and your soul. And when you're in that, and there's less of the programming that's running in the deeper layers of your field that you don't even know about, then everything starts to shift and rearrange itself to then live in more harmony with what it is that you want. And we're going to be doing this in Abundant by Nature. The one thing I've seen as a coach, coaching my clients for many years, is as you step into a deeper level of your service, or maybe you're just starting out, or maybe you've had a job for a long time, but now you're offering your healing work or your coaching or medicine work, whatever it is, everybody I know comes up against this. I've seen this year after year after year. And this is why I think part of my own money journey has had to be like, wow, not only do I need to go through it myself, but I have clients going through it. So I've done a huge amount of deep dive into this work for the last, 8-9 years straight. Maybe even, it started in about 2012, 2013, as I was launching one of my previous businesses. And I've seen this so many times where my clients, really struggle with, what do I charge? How do I make the money that I need to make and feel supported and resourced and live a life that feels really good to me, while also not being, too misaligned with their value system? And how do you come to terms with that? It's something that I think it's almost become a meme in the spiritual space. It's like, spiritual people feel like, oh, I shouldn't receive because I see these people, a lot of people put like villains into this category of like rich people are bad. And by the way, are all rich people bad? Like, is every wealthy, person with a lot of money you've ever met in your life a bad person? I can name so many very wealthy, and when I say wealthy, it's like, what kind of wealth, right? Financially wealthy people that I know that are doing great things in the world. And the one little shift I always say is like, well, it's funny that the spiritual people are the ones shunning the money, but actually, if we really want to create a better world, the world that you want to see, if anything, don't you think that the spiritual people should be the ones to have all the money, to be wildly abundant, to have many, many financial resources. Am I not right there? Like that, I know if you stop and think about it, it's like if you can create the world that you want, and, by the way, money is seemingly infinite, and I do believe it is. Like we have limitless possibilities in our lives, in our reality. Like the internet wasn't here when I was born. That's well, maybe it was, and I just didn't know what it was. But you know what I mean? It's like we have limitless possibilities to create. So, to see this perspective of like, well, what if it was me and all my friends and my community that were the ones that were like really well resourced in financial ways, where then they could go put together, projects to give back, or, I don't know. I have a friend who's doing, natural sustainable building. It's like, well, what if he had an extra X number of $1 million to give away natural sustainable homes to the homeless or the unhomed? You know what I mean? So we're going to be doing a lot of mindset shift work. I don't really call this a mindset program. It's deeper than that. It's working on your reprogramming of the unconscious, while also doing a lot of embodiment exercises that are fun. This program is actually not meant to be hard work. There's no homework. There's no videos you're going to watch. I'm not going to make you read a book. I'm going to have a book list if you want to listen to some or read any on the beach or whatever. But I'm offering it during this very abundant time of year so you can really learn how to make permanent, lasting shifts in your life and really hold this higher frequency of receiving and feeling worthy of like the inherent abundance, not abundance in capitalism, but abundance in the inherent sense of the word, of what it means to just be born as if you were a bee, or as if you were a squirrel, or as if you were, I don't know, a whale in the ocean. It's like, do you think any of them worry about how much money they make? No, they are just living abundantly by nature. And this is what this program is about, is when you are really deeply connected to this on such an embodied way, where you have full trust in your soul's journey, that it was placed on this earth, in this body at this time, and really being in this deeper relationship with that trust, you will start to see how life provides for you in a different way. And you get to actually create and have what it is that you want. This is what Spirit wants for you. This is what you are here for. You are here to experience and receive the pleasure, the beauty, the excitement, the joy, the laughter, the fun, and yes, the physical abundance that you want. And it doesn't matter if it comes down to receiving in more money, or, I don't know, receiving in, an all expenses paid trip to somewhere fun that will surprise you and delight you. I'm actually going to be pulling from a program, believe it or not, one of the programs that I did that really had an impact on me, that started a deeper journey into abundance and worthiness and receiving, was a program I did with my Buddhist teacher who lived on Dana. I think she still does. And if you know what I mean, Dana is, she lived fully on donations only. She had no income and no job and nothing that was guaranteed. But she was a Buddhist teacher living in New York City and fully lived on donations. And she taught a class, I don't even know how long ago it was. It was so long ago. But it was a class on, she called it Manifesting from the Heart. But it was rooted in Buddhist perspective on, the heart path, the metta meditation, the mindfulness, but also, the reality that there is no separation. We're not here to say like spirituality means, letting go of all worldly belongings and making sure you now just live in a robe on a mountaintop in a hut for the rest of your life. If you look around at actually most spiritual practitioners around the world, like they do have homes and clothing and bills and food. It's like that kind of that belief that, oh, like, the real spiritual people like renunciate like the world. There are renunciates, of course, but it's actually like the minority. Like the reality is, the deeper work is actually, and one of my Buddhist teachers used to say that it's like, if you really want to be, like a Zen practitioner, you walk in the world, like you get on the subway in New York City. I mean, honestly, it's one of the hardest things to do is walk this path in this world, but the reality is, and this is where I say the spiritual bypassing are the people that try to deny that we're living in this world of our current situation. And in order to create the new world, we have to step into a different frequency, the frequency of what we want to see, what it is that we want to be living in. And that is what came through me in this one, download that came through many months ago. It was about like, oh, okay, as the world changes and as we create this new world, and as more of you are being of service to the healing, to the expansion of the humans that you're here to guide with your medicine, whatever that is, coaching, healing, therapy, whatever you're up to, medicine work, you have to be the one that holds this both and, meaning like we do have kind of the old world and we have this new world that we're creating. And, we have to find the two extremes. It's like holding the utter grief and the beauty and the pleasure. And so that's what this program is about. It's not just about like pretending that none of the bad stuff is happening on earth or pretending that there is not income disparity and that the whole system of capitalism is broken. It's about coming to terms within yourself of, well, in order to change the system, I have to infiltrate the system by holding a frequency of the world that I want to see. But in order to do that, you can't be struggling and starving and barely getting by, because you have to be, energized, well-fed, well-resourced, maybe even trained if you're, on this path of service and, trained in certain modalities of healing, and it's kind of like, and maybe you don't necessarily need the money to do that, but, there's a certain level of abundance. Like you don't need the physical money, but maybe it's being gifted a house or a scholarship or an opportunity. I use this example often, but I have a friend who, when I first met her, she had food stamps. She was actually really sick and she had government aid and had food stamps and was a single mom raising a daughter. And I actually didn't know this about her for a very long time. I just knew her as this kind of high vibration person who was really fun and had such a good heart. And she was so abundant. She didn't actually have a lot of physical money per se, but she was gifted a lot of amazing opportunities and housing. She had this beautiful, I think she still has a house. I haven't been there in a while, but she had this beautiful house that was like way bigger than my house. It was actually quite a big house on a beautiful farm. And I think it was, just given at a really low rate. And, she had just constant abundance and she was constantly receiving it in, like, thank you, universe, may I have some more, and flowing her gifts and her service back out to the world. And eventually, nothing is permanent. She had some, changes in her health for the better, got off of the government aid, and her business started really taking off, and voila. But the one thing is, it's like she was constantly living in abundance frequency. And she knew that. She knew that it wasn't about the money. It was so much deeper than that. And because she was always in that abundance frequency, she actually didn't really have a problem with any of her physical needs, So that's the irony. And I actually believe this is why the rich get richer on some level. It's like when you don't need and when you're feeling deep trust and not coming from this kind of overshot nervous system of where am I going to make my next $10 or whatever, then you can feel the safety to receive in even more. But the catch-22 is maybe you don't have that. Maybe you're not in that place. Maybe you are going through something, or maybe you're doing well, but you want more of something else. So, and there's no shame in this. This program is not just meant for people who need more money. It's not all about that, actually. It's about, for anybody that really wants to start to live as much as possible in the frequency of abundance, because this is what I believe our new earth needs. We can't be living in fear. We have to see things from a different approach. And the more we are in this higher frequency of deep trust, deep connection with the earth, and in the true abundant nature that lives within you, the more you will actually see that the earth, the universe, spirit provides back to you. I mean, it's interesting. It's kind of, it's a lot of spiritual concepts 101, but if you're more in this kind of lower fear vibration of like not enough or competition or, again, it's just the deeper fear, it's actually going to take you into more of a downward spiral. But if you learn to do some of these embodiment practices, and some of them are so easy and just so fun, they actually feel really good to do, whether you're trying or not. And this actually isn't about trying, it's about becoming a different way of being. And that's what I want to teach. And that's what I want to share is like what I've learned all these years on my journey. And not to say I'm worth multiple millions, but I'm living fairly comfortably, and also with deep trust, deep trust on the path of the soul, and that I am always provided for in what I need. And when I ask, I shall receive, and this is what I want to share with you. And I'm really excited to witness the magic inside of this group container. We are going to have, as I said, it's not hard work. It's not homework. There's nothing required. There is going to be a community connection group, but it's optional. This is meant to be light and easy with lots of results. And it's priced at a very accessible rate. I hope you'll join us. And I'm really excited to be sharing a lot of this work. And especially for those of you who are doing work as a coach or a healer or a psychedelic space holder or a therapist, I do believe, if anything, it's actually most important for you to really be deeply embodied in the knowing that you are inherently abundant, that it is your true nature to be living at that frequency of being aware of the cycle of giving and receiving, and keep raising it up to a higher octave. Because when you're doing this work of service, you can't be in that fight or flight state of unsafety or neediness, because that actually, if you're coming from the wrong energy of need, like the neediness while you're serving people, it's that energetics, it's bleeding through into their field. And I don't think it's actually, who am I to say what's right or wrong, but I don't think it's of service, I think it's actually detrimental. It's coming from the wrong intention. And so that is some of the deeper reason why I want to be teaching this, is because if you are walking this path of service, it is actually very inherently important for you to just know deep inside your cellular memory, your like the energy in your system, to know that you are inherently abundant no matter what. So you can be of better service, make more of a difference, and actually truly live a life that you love on so many levels, and also be able to give back and flow it back into the world. Thank you for being here. I hope you will join us, and I will see you next week. Lots of love. Bye. I hope you enjoyed the episode. If you're feeling inspired, I'd appreciate it if you showed your love with a review. And check out my YouTube channel where you can find the video version of this podcast. You can also head to bethaweinstein.com to learn more about me and grab my free business growth trainings. Remember, you carry your own unique medicine, and your medicine is what we need for these times.